and welcome along to the Panto podcast. This week my guest is Leah Bell, actress, writer, director, producer, and all-round lovely lady. She's been trailing the balls for a fair few years, shall I say, and in this podcast she tells everybody her story. So sit back and enjoy the latest Panto podcast. I'm joined today with Leah Bell. Hello Leah, welcome along to the Panto podcast.
Oh, thank you very much.
So Leah, how did it all begin for you in terms of theatre?
Well, I started off in the northeast. A great learning ground was the social clubs, and everybody, that's where you started off to work, and you learned your craft there. And then I just moved on into theatre because the gentleman who was the director at the Sunderland Empire, he came to see me. My agent at the time, Beverley Artists, said to Roy Todd, would you like to look at Leah to see if you can use her in the chorus or something? And he came and said, oh no, I couldn't put her in the chorus, but I will offer her the title role in the panto. And I was absolutely gobsmacked. I didn't expect anything like that. So I just kind of got thrown in at the deep end. Mind you, the title role was Humpty Dumpty, so I'm not saying anything else.
How old were you then?
I was 17.
17 and
yeah.
Thrown into it.
Thrown into it. The only thing I was really pleased at, because I kept thinking, oh my God, because the panto at the Empire then started really mid-November and didn't finish till the end of February. It went on and on and on. And I thought, I'm going to have to be in a big eggshell for months. But they made me be a character that came out of the egg, for which I was eternally grateful.
What were audiences like back then? Were they full houses?
They were full houses, families all the time, very mixed audiences. And I tell you how long ago it was, you could actually park outside of the stage door. And you didn't get a ticket.
So the Empire was your first proper...
That was my first pantomime. And then I did Jack and the Beanstalk at the Theatre Royal. And then I did another panto at Sunderland Empire, and I can't remember which one it was. Chris Hayward would know. He knows more than me about me. And then I was really lucky a while later I'd done some pantos away from the northeast in Bournemouth and Stockport and things like that. And then I was asked to play Cinderella at the Theatre Royal, and Sir David Jason played Buttons, and that was the one and only pantomime he ever did. Now make of that what you will.
Was he good?
He was brilliant. He was very... When he first came up, Bobby Thompson was in that panto with us. And Bobby used to shuffle past him, and go, hello, son, like that. And David used to say to me, what a shame, that old fella having to work, because he didn't know who Bobby Thompson was. That's a shame. I'm going to give him a couple of quid for a cup of tea. I used to go, I wouldn't if I was you. He's just been dropped off in his roller. Oh, no, I feel terrible. Of course, on the opening night, Bobby Thompson was doing the cabaret at the ball, as it were, in the panto, and he wasn't in the walk down because he was going on to appear in the Mayfair after the panto. And anyway, when he came on, I always remember the band played the Bladen Races, and Bobby appeared at the top of the stairs, and the roof nearly blew off the theatre, and David was going, what's going on? But of course, it was for Bobby, wasn't it?
A lot of people don't know who Bobby Thompson is, though, apart from in the northeast.
Well, that's right. A lot of people don't know. But, I mean, up here, he was legendary, wasn't he?
The Little Waster.
Yeah. Very clever comic, I thought. And he absolutely ripped the pantomime. And then he shuffled off, got his coat, his roller picked him up, took him to the Mayfair. He did another spot.
I heard he was notoriously... mean, is that?
Well, he was always great with me. I used to do some of his shows, and he was always, you can only speak as you find. He was always great with me. Didn't take me out for meals or nothing.
No drinks?
But if I was at the bar, he would say, what do you want?
Oh,
Yeah?
Okay. First time I've heard that.
Well, there you go.
Were you always funny?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't set out to be funny. I set out to be a singer. And then I was really lucky. I got into the Sunderland Empire, and so a different type of agent sees your performance level there. And then I got put onto the Ken Dodd Laughter Show tour. And I was, to my mind, I was just doing a bit of linking up of songs. I always did comic type songs, but I was doing a bit of linking up, and one night I was at Bradford Alhambra where Billy Pearce does his panto, but it didn't look like then like it does now, I hasten to add. And I looked off and there was Ken Dodd watching me, and I thought, oh God, what have I done? Because he was a stickler for everybody else sticking to the time. He, of course, did however long he wanted. And I thought, oh, I must have run over. So when I came off, he asked for me to go to his dressing room. But when I got there, he said, you have a brilliant style of delivery, and this is what I want you to do. And he used to give me hints and tell me how to deliver lines. And I was so young at the time, I didn't realise what a marvellous thing. Ken Dodd told me how to deliver a line, and I didn't. You don't realise when you're young, do you, how lucky you are? I mean, really, I should have been intimidated, because then he'd watch to see how I delivered the line. So I should have been, but I'd be going, I'll show him. Oh, how stupid.
He was obviously impressed, though.
Well, he must have been, but you don't appreciate it at the time, do you? I mean, I really should have gone, oh, thank you very much. But I do remember he told me something, and I've got an awful feeling I rolled my eyes at him. I don't even want to talk about it. Move on.
Did you go to the pantomimes much as a child?
No, it wasn't something our family did. We didn't go to the theatre. It wasn't something we did. I mean, when I was young, there was a certain section of the public went to the theatre. I was from Benwell, Scotswood Road. I wasn't living off bread and cheese, but we certainly weren't my mum and dad had 4 children. They didn't have the money to splash about taking you to the theatre. And it was considered to be something other people did. So God knows how I ended up in it. I mean, I was quite bright at school, and as far as my parents were concerned, I'd got my O-levels, and I was studying to go on to get a career in law. But I always wanted to be in the entertainment industry, and I'd kind of done things for charity at weekends and that type of thing. And then one day I went off up to Pendower Technical High for girls and arrived back home at lunchtime. My mother saying, what's the matter? Are you ill? I went, oh no, I've left. I'm going into show business. I mean, Mum fainted on the spot. But you could be a teacher. I went, I didn't want to be. So that was it.
What was it that made you want to do that?
I've got no idea. I really, sometimes I think, what was it that made me think it was okay to do it? But I just did. I always wanted to do it.
And what was your singing voice like back then?
I've always sounded like a Geordie Ethel Merman. When I was at the Theatre Royal, there was a lovely lady called June Shand who played Prince Charming, because they had the men playing, the ladies playing the prince, that style of panto then. Which David Jason was very perturbed about, because he'd never been to a panto, and he didn't know what the hell was going on here. Anyway, we had a love song to sing, but my voice was quite strident. And Chris Hayward always says, he actually saw me in the opening performance, and he said, your entrance, I decided that as Cinderella entered, I would come over the little bridge singing before the parade passes by. So as I got to the top of the bridge, I hit the crescendo, before the parade. He said, you were shattering everybody's glasses. And then the Uglies came on, and you had to pretend to be frightened of them. He said, but your whole body language was like, yeah. So when I sang the duet with the Prince, she wanted to do a song called this is love. So this is love. Ha 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 ha. Well, it just sounded funny when I did it. I could feel people who'd seen me performing thinking, is this where we laugh? Is this the bit we laugh at? And I thought, oh, please don't. I'm trying to be serious.
Did you always warm to the laughs?
Yeah. I liked it when people were laughing more than if I was singing. You know, not laughing at me singing, but I preferred the laughter.
And at what point then, because you said you used to do like little comedy bits between, or not comedy bits as such, but chit-chat between the songs.
Yeah. When
did that sort of get bigger?
It just rolled along as time went on. And I mean, we've just done, of course, Chrissy Rock, a great comedian she is. Her and I work together quite a lot, and we've just done the Silver Bell show at the Phoenix at Blythe. And she was doing her full stand-up, and I sang a couple of songs, but I was doing patter, and I'd come off, and she went to me, see that line you've just done, I'm having that, right? I went, all right. So it just, I don't know how it evolved, it just did. But it's very unusual for two lady comedians to work together in such harmony as Chrissy and I do when we are working together. She always wants to do our pantomime because we work together for a large portion of the year, and then, of course, we don't at Christmas. But I think she might want to do that, so I'll do the cooking on Christmas Day, now that I'm thinking about it.
What's been your favourite panto?
Do you mean that I've produced and directed?
That you've produced and directed.
To be honest with you, my favourite one is the one we've just done, Beauty and the Beast. It felt like I've enjoyed every panto that we've done, and I've enjoyed all the cast members, but sometimes you do something and every section of it gels. You know, people got on with each other, nobody was ill, because that's the famous thing in pantomime. Everybody gets the flu or a virus, and it makes you down because you've got to keep doing all the shows. But everything fell into place and stayed there, and it finished, and we all said goodbye. Nobody'd had a fight. It was amazing.
Have there ever been times like that in your pantos when cast don't gel?
Well, yes, but this is I always have my pep talk before we start, and I always say, if you are performing with somebody and working with them for the duration of the contract, and you don't get on with them, nobody wants to know about it, leave it at the stage door. And at the end of the contract, you can go up to them after the last performance and tell them exactly what you think if you feel you need to. But until then, nobody's interested. And that's my philosophy. I mean, if you work in B&M, you're not forced to like the person on the next till, are you?
Very true. Very true. So when you started off in panto, when did you actually think to yourself, actually, I could produce this, I could direct this?
Well, I've been directing variety shows, a lot of, all of them really that I was involved in and directed, and I was really lucky because I directed Norman Wisdom in a summer show. I needed a big box of paracetamol when I did that. He was brilliant, totally brilliant, but he was a stickler for everything. If you said and instead of but or whatever, no, you don't say that, but he was brilliant. And so from that, confidence grew, and then I started writing my own stuff. I'd always written my own links, and I think it's probably a natural progression. You do get better at it the more you do it, obviously. I don't think you sit down and go, that's Oscar Wilde kicked into the corner, but you do realise that you've got sharper as you go along. And of course, where we do our pantomime each year at Concert Empire, I know the stage so well. I know what will work and what won't work. And, how, if you're going to stage something, which is the best way to do it.
What was the first panto you actually produced?
The first panto in a theatre I produced was Dick Whittington at Concert, but I had produced touring pantos prior to that. So it wasn't actually the first panto, it was the first one I produced in as a resident theatre. Yeah.
Was that tricky, being on the road, doing touring?
Oh yeah, because you're staging things, but you don't actually know when you get there how you're going to get on and off. So you're kind of vague about entrances and exits, and you're saying to people, you come on from stage right, but if it's stage left, you're going to have to do this. And particularly dancers, you choreograph them coming on, and then they get there and they can't come on that way, but everybody manages it. You somehow fall into a pattern of going in and looking and going, oh, right, I've got to do this, that or the other,
What spurred you on, do you think, to actually want to produce?
Do you know, I don't know. I used to produce and direct all the entertainment at Fort Regent in Jersey and the Channel Islands. And we started off taking like a cast of 6 in a show that I was in called Hollywood Express. But by the time I left Fort Regent, I was taking over about 30 actors, actresses and singers to Jersey for an 8-month summer season. And I was organising all the entertainment in and around Jersey, in hotels and at Fort Regent. And it was brilliant. I mean, we had to do such a massive range of entertainment. You come to do kids stuff, we did children's stuff, we had to do children's shows and adult shows. When I say adult, I don't mean adult, I mean
blue. Yeah.
I don't mean blue, I mean, for grown-ups. We had to do all the time music halls and then something more modern. So what a grounding, you learn, you either sink or swim. I think I floundered about a few times, but mostly I managed to get a good stroke going and I was off. Yeah, it was great.
And the panto part of that then, did you have a cast in mind when you started off? Did you think, this person's going to be good for this person?
Do you mean in Jersey or here?
Just for touring.
For touring. Well, I'd got to know a lot of people and I'm pretty good. For me, the people that work with me have to be talented, obviously, and have an ability to do what you're going to do, but they also have to be good team players. I've actually declined to take a contract with somebody because I thought they were going to be too much of a headache, because you don't need it. We're actors, actresses, singers, dancers. We're not performing open heart surgery, so we don't need any hysterics. That's my philosophy. And my team are great. And backstage, particularly this year, we had to move, some flats had to get moved and everybody was busy doing something. So cast members were pulling curtains to help the crew to get on and off and that type of thing. And I think that's great because you're all in the team. Backstage, front of house, you need every section of the team to work.
Have you ever had a bad panto experience?
No, I've had funnier panto. I did a while ago at the Davenport Theatre in Stockport, which isn't there anymore. I did a panto with myself, the Rockenberries, Cannon and Ball. Well, the Rockenberries were one of the drummer there, Keith Smart, he'd been in Roy Wood and Wizards band, so he was rock and roll, and so he the 3 shows a day. I think he wanted to kill himself because he wasn't, really up for that. And I remember this one time they must have been out having a night out, and we were in Dick Whittington, and the bit where they go, "You haven't searched Whittington's satchel." That was his line. And I think he looked like he'd checked out mentally, and he was on the set leaning on the counter in Fitzwarren's store. And all of a sudden, that thing where you suddenly come back into the room and he must have gone. There was a split second of silence which he thought was his to fill. So he jumped up and very loudly went, "You haven't searched Whittington's satchel yet." We weren't anywhere near that part. So everybody looked at him like he was, and he went, "I'm just saying, just in case." And we had to plod on with it.
Have you ever been in a situation where you might have sort of slipped up a little bit like that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, where you're doing, especially if you're doing those 3 a day, and at concert we're on stage for 10 in the morning, and so living here I have to leave here at 7 in the morning to avoid the traffic on the bypass. And so really by the time you've got on, you've been driving for an hour and a half, and it's so easy, especially it's coming up to Christmas, and you know you've for the last nanosecond you've gone, I wonder if I got me Auntie Edna anything for Christmas, and then you look round and think, whoa. Not now, Leah. Don't think about it now.
Going back, you said you never went as a child to see pantomime. Do you remember the first panto you actually went to go and see?
I think one of the first pantos, the first theatre experience of something that I went to see that made me go, this is what I want to do. This is it. I went to see Wendy Craig in Peter Pan. That's how long ago it was. She was flying. And I went to see it. We couldn't afford. I went on my own, actually. And I went and sat up in the gods, but I was absolutely entranced by the whole theatre experience and went back a couple of days later to see it again. And that's when I thought, this is what I want to do.
Where was that?
Theatre Royal Newcastle.
And roughly how old would you have been?
15. So, good 10 years ago.
Of course. Dare I ask then, that moment when you actually saw Wendy Craig and you thought, this is for me, could you have imagined yourself
Yes.
being this
I
producer?
did.
You did?
I did. I imagined it all. And that's, the truth, when people go, oh, no, I never thought. No, I was very single-minded from then on. I didn't discuss it with my mother and father because there was no one else in my family even remotely connected with show business. So to have gone, actually, I'm going to be in show business, would have been like, what? So I didn't mention it. I finished doing what I was supposed to do at school, which was the GCSEs then, and then I left. I came back and told her I'd left. I'd made the decision and I was going into show business. They were very supportive, but very shocked. But I was quite single-minded about it.
What was your first gig then?
Well, I'd done things, as I say, for charity events. They used to do little concerts and things like that, and I'd get up and do a bit, but not on a grand scale. And then when I started doing social clubs, which were a different thing to they are now. People used to go dressed, and in a weekend the men used to have their suit on to go in the concert room. In fact, you weren't really allowed in anything that wasn't considered to be smart attire. So the whole thing was a different thing. And I started doing that. And then when I was quite quickly got into Sunderland Empire, and I remember, so I slept in a little bit actually this day, and I was driving over to the theatre, and it was before mobile phones and all that stuff. You had your landline and that was it. And I had won the stage award. I didn't even know I was being considered for it, but I'd won the stage award as female vocalist, and they were going to televise the whole thing, and it had come out and they'd made the announcement. I was driving, I'd slept in, I was going over in my pyjamas under my coat, and Des, the stage manager, as I pulled up, he always used to keep a little space for me to park, and he was outside and he was faffing at me, and so I pulled up and unceremoniously went, what? And he went, the press are inside. I went, oh, the hair had nothing, I wasn't organised, so he got me in via another entrance, and I got sorted out. The press were taking all my picture, and I won the stage award then, and that was televised live from Sheffield Fiesta, and of everybody who was nominated, I went on to win the Bernard Delfont Silver Rose Ball as all-round entertainer. I was stunned because I didn't even know I was in with a chance of anything. So I brought the silver rose bowl home, and my mum kept the nuts in it.
Keep you grounded. That's
Yeah.
it. Did that open many doors for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it did. It opened a lot of doors and opened doors, whereas people in London didn't think of you as a Northern club act. I suppose they did, but they did take a second look. So that's how it opened doors.
And that north-south divide
Still exists. You can tell. I mean, I've been touring in a play which we're just about to go off again in Dirty Dusting, which Ed Woff and Trevor Wood wrote. And it goes brilliantly well across the country, everywhere. But the difference in the type of laughter in the north to the south is very evident. You can tell.
laugh at different things, or
No, they just laugh differently, and the Northerners are not frightened to let rip and laugh. The Southerners titter. And they say things like, "Oh, you're awfully funny."
when you were in Bournemouth then for Panto, how was that?
That was great. I was with I make myself sound like Methuselah. I was with the Crackerjack team in that. Ed Stew Pott, Jan Hunt, lovely Jan Hunt, Peter Glaze. I know.
Little Peter Glaze.
Little Peter Glaze, yeah. And I met the lady there who was the fairy, is still one of my best friends, and that was forever and ever ago, that. So that was a great experience working with them.
And what about them sort of audiences on the south coast?
Well, I mean, the people that put the panto on, I was in that panto, and so you were directed. And because of my height, 4'10", I was always cast as principal girl. But I'm actually too loud to be principal girl. You know, I should be principal boy, if anything. Nowadays, I give myself a different role when I'm doing anything, because I know the principal girl wouldn't even be a fraction as forward as I am. But they did used to cast me as the princess or Alice Fitzwarren. I used to try my best to look timid, but I don't think I ever pulled it off. But they geared their pantos for their audiences, so they went great.
Do you think your height, you mentioned your height there, do you think that gave you that bigger personality because of being diminutive?
I like that word, because short is
Well,
the
I was
other
going to
word.
say, I thought diminutive is better.
Well done, you. I don't know. I mean, I didn't know I was short till I came up against really tall people, you know. I mean, you don't
The leggy
think
dancers,
about,
yeah.
the really tall dancers. Mind you, years ago, in 1971, I did a summer season in Jersey at the Hawaiian. A gentleman called Chris Sava owned it. He was originally Greek, and he'd booked me. He'd come to the Northeast to audition. God knows why he'd come up to the Northeast, but I think it's because there was so many good club acts. Anyway, I was on the audition show, and he offered me a contract. That was my first ever summer season away from home, and I got £35 a week, right? Which was a lot then. Anyway, when I got there, in his mind's eye, I don't think he'd thought it through, because he had booked some really tall dancers and he wanted me to do a number with them. Well, I was next to a lovely lady called Tina Darnell, who was easily 6 foot before she put her heels on. So, like, my head came up to the top of her legs, and then we had these really tall showgirl hats on. And of course, when I came out, everybody laughed because it must have looked funny, and that side of me must have thought, oh, I'm going to go for the laugh then. I'm not going to stand here and be laughed at. So Chris Sava had called a meeting because it wasn't his vision that would happen. And his solution, I said, well, look, shall I come out of the number? Because, You know, what can I say? I'm not the same height as everybody else. He said, no, I will get you a taller hat. Well, my hat ended up, it was about 4 foot. It was a license for people to laugh. I don't think that was the solution.
Has it been tough as a lady trying to get on in the business?
Well, I'm not one of those women who goes, men do this and men do that, but there's not many men. I don't know very many men who are comfortable with a woman being in charge or clearly knowing that particular craft better than they do. There's not many men that comfortable with it. Younger men tend to be more at ease with it, but I think it's the culture. You know, it wasn't the culture when I was young. Men were generally in charge, whether they knew what they were doing or not. And in my opinion, most of the time they didn't.
Any ructions?
Do you mean any sexual advances?
No. Any ructions? Any sort of difficulty with you being the boss?
Not really. But then again, I've never been of the mindset that you don't have to throw your weight around if you're the boss. You just quietly say, that's not happening. I'm not intimidated by anybody, male or female, but I don't think that the way forward is to be shouting and ranting and screaming anyway, whoever you are. So I think that, and I've been lucky to work with great people. I mean, you know, Billy Pearce is an amazing comic, and amazing in pantomime. And I've directed Billy in the play that we've just been touring in. Now, you would think that Billy Pearce, that his wealth of experience and knowledge, if I would go up to him and say, Billy, I don't really think it should be that way, that he might go, well, but no, that's fine, love. How do you want it to be? Now, that's a really good professional person. Tommy Cannon, he's been in the play. I mean, you didn't get bigger stars than Cannon and Ball on a Saturday night. But still, I'd go, Tom, can we do it this way? Yeah. So I do think that if you're a real pro, and I don't mean that meaning you do this job for your living, I mean inside you are a professional person. You don't behave in a bad way if you're working with a director or a producer that you respect. If it's somebody who's clearly doesn't know what they're talking about, then I can't imagine Billy Pearce going, yeah, all right, I'll do it.
Your process then during the year when you're casting, do you keep your eye out for people? How do you spot?
I do, but I've actually already cast for next year. I do tend to have a team that work with me, you know, I would say 90% of the time. And this year we took a couple of new people in. Finn Healy, the wonderful comic Brendan Healy, his son, he did Panto with us. Now, as you probably know, Brendan had his own theatre company and he was a brilliant comic and he loved Panto, but Finn hadn't actually done it. And he came and did Panto with us and he took to it like a duck to water. So I was very pleased to have Finn on board. He makes me feel short. All 6'8" of him makes me feel short.
It did look funny, mind.
Well, I'm always saying to Finn, this is not when we're in the panto, when we're off stage. Tall people always stand really close to you, forcing the diminutive / short person to stare up their nostrils. You know, I'm always going, Finn, take a step back, or I would step back away from him and he'd just follow me down. So a word to all tall people, stand back one step.
Not crouch.
Don't crouch, you know, that's the other thing, they bend over the top of you. So, no, I thought Finn was very funny in the panto, and I was very pleased for him because he was nervous, and he said a lovely thing before we went on for the first show. He said, do you know, I bet me father's watching over us. And I thought, oh, and I bet he was. I bet he was.
And laughing as well, no doubt.
I think just going, well done, Finn, because he did a great job.
He did.
And he's, you know, mind you, costuming Finn Healy is an epic in itself. My sister does the costumes, and he shows her a size flipping 17 before you've even started. When she made his trousers for the thing, she brought them through and they're hanging. I went, you're having a laugh. They're not going to fit in. But they did, you know. I mean, he's such a big guy, isn't he, you know? Big, what did Charm call him? A big lolloping guy.
During the year then, for your new people, how do you spot them?
I'm always looking, you know, if I see it. And people do approach me or send me an email or contact me and say, would you be interested? But, you know, it's a big accolade that at the end of this panto and previous pantos, every member of the cast asked if they could be included in next year's panto. And that's great. That makes you feel they must be happy working with me, you know. So when we did, and we did have, as I say, 3 new members of cast, and you do feel like the first day at school and people have started before you, so you haven't got a good spot in the classroom, but everybody just blended in and got on great and helped each other, and that's what I think it's all about, you know. And I tell you what I don't like, which I'm sure you won't like. I look at social media, Facebook, which is a great invention and a wonderful way of keeping in touch with people. But why do people have to put side swipes at other pantomimes and other performers and actors? And what is that about? You know, if you go and see something and you don't like it, you don't like it. You don't need to put any detrimental comments, and you don't need to behave like that with other performers, I don't think.
Have you ever had experience of that?
Yeah, I've worked with people who you've thought, to be honest with you, I always just think, oh, you'll get yours one day. They always do. But I would never keep anybody like that on. If they did slide through the net initially, you know, the scrutinising, I like to think I've got that Geordie thing where you go, I don't like him or her. I'm not sexist.
No. Who were your influences then when you were growing up?
I liked people like Ethel Merman, Doris Day, Barbara Streisand. Those type of performers, I always liked them. And I liked musicals. And although I was working in social clubs, I wasn't doing the type of material that other people were doing, because I would introduce songs from musicals, which weren't really being done then when I was doing them, because I used to arrive at the club and you'd have your organist and drummer who not all of them, but a section of them didn't read music that well and busked along, but they did know most of the stuff that was going to be done, you know, was is this the way to they knew it. So what key do you do? But I'd arrive with this big medley and all these and they must have been going, bloody hell, what's this? You know, so my influences were always slightly different.
And what about funny people?
Well, I do think that you know, when people go, oh, it's new wave comedy, or it's funny is funny. It's not new wave, it's not anything, it's just funny, if it's funny. And if it isn't funny, you can call it what you like, it's still not funny. And I've worked with all sorts of comedians and comics, and the greats, Norman Wisdom, very visual. He was Ken Dodd, the master of Bob Monkhouse, all those type of people. And I've seen some of the newer comics. Some are funny, in my opinion, and some I think I don't get what's funny. It just seems to be a bit cruel. But I like people who have got funny bones.
Was it ever intimidating working with some of these people, such as Norman Wisdom?
It wasn't intimidating, it was very instructive, you know. I remember we were touring, we were resident in Margate doing a summer season, and we used to do Sunday concerts at various other seaside resorts. So the agent had a coach on, and we'd meet up on the Sunday morning. The whole cast would get on the coach, and the coach would take us to the new theatre. We'd do the Sunday concert and drive back to Margate. And this one time we'd got on the road. I can't even remember where we were going. It will have been Bournemouth or one of those places. The traffic was horrendous coming back. There'd been an accident, and anyway, we used to always head straight back, but I said to the coach driver, we need to stop, everybody needs to get off the bus. And when we pulled into the service area, there was a load of bikes, motorbikes, and I thought, oh God, no, it was about 2:00 in the morning. And I said to the girls, look, get off the coach, go to the loo, if you need to buy a drink or whatever, get it, and let's get back on the coach. Let's not make a big stop. I said, Norman, would you like me to get you something from the service area? I didn't really want him to go in, you know. And anyway, he said he didn't really want anything. So I went in and I was waiting to be served. I'd got him some food anyway, and I could feel a bit of a buzz behind me, and I looked round, and sure enough, he brought himself in, right? And all these big bikers, you could see them nudging each other going, that's Norman Wisdom, you know, these people that looked like they were going to kill you if they found you round a corner, you know. Yeah. Anyway, he said, I tell you what, we'll have our dinner in here. And he ordered the services, you know, fish and chips. So we ended up, I'm going to the girls, well, you can all sit down, you know. Anyway, I'm sitting with Norman, he's eating his dinner, and these two massive geezers come over with the leather coats and the long hairs, looked like ZZ Top. And I'm thinking, oh no, I'm going to have to, you know, and they come over and they went, nearly curtsied. They went, excuse me, Mr. Wisdom, would you sign our books? And he went, yeah, of course, did all the thing. And I thought, how amazing that you're that famous, that these people who, if you saw them on the street, you'd go, oh, might just cross over when I'm coming to these people. And they were sort of kneeling before him going, me and my granny used to watch you on the telly, you know, it was all like that. Go on, do it for us. And he knew exactly what they meant. Mr. Grimstyle.
Lots of children nowadays don't even get to see that, which is a shame.
It is a shame, yeah. There's a lot of young people who, they spend their time watching iPads and TV and Netflix and all that, and it's pretty much entertainment where you can pause it if you want to go and do something else, or talk on the phone while they're watching it. And I do think that, you know, I do see people in the theatre, young people, intent on videoing it and watching the entire thing through a little tiny space when they could be enjoying the whole thing, you know.
The moment, yeah.
Yeah, the moment is gone because they've spent that time trying to video it. Yeah.
Do you find audiences have changed much over the years?
Attention spans? The attention span, yeah. I mean, definitely the attention span, but I think the world has a short attention span now, doesn't it? You know, it's quick with everything.
It's there.
It's there and then it's not there. Yeah. Pretty much. I'm like that. I'm like that with my cushions. I go to B&M because they're cheap, because I know I'm going to want to change them this time next month.
How have you embraced with social media? YouTube and things like that.
I like it. I'm not brilliant on it, my younger members of my family are always going, you don't do that, and they do it this way, but I do like it. I wouldn't dream of putting a picture of my dinner on Facebook and going nom or whatever they go. I mean, you're like, get a life. And I certainly wouldn't be putting have any really bad things to say about it, let go of it on social media. Or if I have words with my husband, I don't feel the need to tell everybody.
Yeah, to broadcast it.
No.
What about YouTube then? Because they keep a lot of the old acts alive on there.
Listen, I've had people send stuff to us. My husband, Johnny DeLittle, he was in a movie with Tommy Steele, and he was managed by John Barry, who wrote all the John Barry, what's his name?
James Bond.
That's it, not John. I'm thinking John Pondoozy. So we get stuff sent to us. Have you seen this link? You're on it, and there's, all things like that. Can I just say that I'd known my husband for about 5 years, and I was downstairs doing the ironing, and he was upstairs fannying about, as I call it. Anyway, it was a Sunday morning, and I had the telly on. They used to always have an old film on, and so this old movie. Oh, I like this. It's Tommy Steele. I like Tommy Steele. So I've got my iron, and it goes. You know how they used to go, starring Tommy Steele and Alvin Stardust and all these people, Danny Williams and Johnny DeLittle, and I went, what? I shouted up, you're in a film? You never told me you were in a film. He said, no, I forgot. He said, actually, I made 2 films. I went, well, what's the other one called? He said, I can't remember. He was in the film called It's All Happening, one of Tommy Steele's big movies. And when I told my mother said, well, we went to see that at the Tatler Cinema in Newcastle. I thought, there you go.
You've seen your future husband.
I saw him and I never even noticed him.
That's nice, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Do you catch yourself though ever watching like old clips and things like this on YouTube of some of the stars like Hilda Baker?
Oh yeah.
People like that.
Yeah, definitely. And people like Carol Burnett and people like that, I love to watch those. It's great to have that at your fingertips. Absolutely great. And I love watching things like that. Dick Emery, I like to watch him. Great timing and
a lot to be learnt from them.
Absolutely, people. Yeah. Even if you didn't like what their particular style, you could not say they didn't have timing or they didn't have something magical,
Talking about then your recent tours, so you're currently in a production called, or about to go on tour with Dirty Dusting. Mm-hmm. What's that all about? That's a play about 3 cleaning ladies who've come to their sell-by date, and they get told by an zealous young office manager that they're going to be stood down for younger models. So they decide there's a chance wrong number in the office while they're cleaning up, and it's somebody thought they were ringing the sex line, which is a shop just down the street, and the number is quite similar. So they decide that they will set up a sex chat line out of office on the last 2 weekends to make some extra money, because nobody will know what they look like, so they could do or say whatever. Well, needless to say, raucous humour is the order of the day. That's all I'm saying. But my niece and nephews came to see it and sent me a message in the interval and went, awkward. So completely not like Panto.
Absolutely not like Panto, no.
Do you find that distinction between keeping it family and the rudeness, the double entendres? Because when I saw Beauty and the Beast, there was nothing really adult.
No, we don't do anything like that, because we have so many school performances. And for me, if children are invited and families are invited, for me personally, I don't like anything that could be uncomfortable. for Nana watching it with. So I don't think, I think there are other outlets of entertainment where you can do that, and Panto shouldn't be that one. That's what I think. You can do that in other productions, and I do, but I don't do it in Panto, you know. And I think there's a time and place, and I personally don't think it's Panto, but that's just my opinion. And who am I?
Have you ever been presented with something that you're not happy with it in the script?
Yeah. I've said it. I'm not comfortable with this, and you know, if you've got a good director and you're not just being awkward, they will generally help you to get to a point where you do feel comfortable with it, and that's just working with professionals, you know. But I've never gone, I really can't say this, and somebody's gone, well, you've got to. That's never really happened. And it's funny, isn't it? Because the play I wrote with Chrissy Rock, Seriously Dead, in the first 3 minutes, Chrissy is playing a recently bereaved wife, and her husband was a bit of a gangster, but she didn't like him anyway. And so the premise is that the undertaker is taking her to view the body, and she's dressed in an extremely short skirt, and she's clearly not, she's crying, but it's clearly crocodile tears. And in the first minute, not gratuitously, but she says the F word, right, in the first minute of the play. Now, we call that the money line, because that's where we can tell what the audience are like. And normally, in the way she delivers it as well, the roof lifts off the venue, and more so in the north, but also in the south. That's the line, and we're all backstage, so we're all listening, because then we know where we're going with the play. Anyway, we did this production in Stratford, and I didn't want to go to Stratford with it, but the agent said, no, the theatre want you there. And I was going, but you know, this is a farce, Stratford, you know, really. No. Anyway, as we drove in, we were all thinking the same thing. And I wonder if the humour, not only are we wondering if the humour will work, but this line that she has to say, which is a key line, she has to say it, and she has to say it like that. What happened? And as we pulled in, there was these huge banners up to say they were doing Titus Andronicus, and so we were going, that was like another nail in the coffin. We were going, oh my God. Anyway, we got on, and Chrissy is always oblivious to that type of thing. She doesn't go, I wonder if they'll like this. She just was getting ready, and Billy Pearce kept looking at me going, do you think it'll be all right? I was going, well, we're here, so we've got to do it, you know. Anyway, she went on, and the rest of us were all in the wings, like listening, you know, here comes the line. And it had been quite quiet as she went on. She normally gets a ripple when she goes on, but nothing. So she come and she delivered the line with all her usual verve, and there was about a nanosecond of nothing, and then the roof lifted off, and we all went, oh. I thought, you know, it's typical, isn't it? We've come to here, and it still worked, you know. They still thought it was funny, and it's just, we feel so wrong in this environment, you know, this place. But what can you say?
Have you ever thought about turning your hand at serious acting?
Yeah, I've done some serious acting. I was in a local production of Calendar Girls, and there's parts of that very serious. I'm doing some serious stuff in the Cinder Path, although I have to say that when I was in Panto at concert, we're doing the Cinder Path there, I did have a lot of people who come to see me in Funny Things and in Dirty Dustin, and this one lady said, hey Leah, we cannot wait to see you in the Cinder Path, it's going to be funny, isn't it? And I thought, oh, I hope not. My husband in it has just killed someone. I wasn't going to go for a laugh, but never mind.
You could do.
Oh no, do you know what though? I did Calamity Jane, and I used to do a sketch dressed as the Angel of the North, which was very funny. And then somebody had said, during the rehearsal period, will you be doing the Angel of the North? And I went, well, no, I'm Calamity Jane. I can hardly pop up from behind the saloon and randomly do.
But that shows, though, that you're doing a good job if people associate you with comedy so
Oh,
much.
I think so, yeah. I hope so. I really hope so.
Is there anything you'd still like to achieve?
Oh, always. I mean, it's never over till it's over as far as I'm concerned. You know, any challenge, if I feel like I could do it, I'll have a go, yeah. So loads of things I'd like to do.
Anything in particular?
I can't think of anything at the moment, but, you know, I see things and I think that I'd like to have a shot at that, or in acting roles, you know. So I'd like to play. I'd like to play one of those hard-hitting detective things. I'd like to do something like that.
The next Vera.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With a wink in the corner of the eye, just.
Yeah. Funny Vera.
A funny Vera. Well. And what do you do during your chill time now? When you get a chill time?
Well, we like to walk and we take the dog. You know, I'm not one for flying abroad. We like eating out and just simple things. The cinema, if there's anything on. But we prefer going to the cinema than the theatre. We want to shh. I know. I love going to the cinema.
What sort of things?
Well, my next thing I want to go and see is the Stan and Ollie thing. I want to see that. I like most movies. And this flipping Netflix is a killer for me, because if I sit down and go, I'll just have a browse, I could be sat there forever. Well, I'll just watch the next one, you know.
So you are embracing technology.
I am embracing it, yeah. Now I know how to switch it on.
Better than the video shop in the old days, isn't it?
Do you remember Blockbusters?
Betamax, I remember Betamax.
Oh, God.
Yeah. You're like that. I'm not that old.
Oh, Bennett.
What would be your advice then for young people who want to try and get into theatre, both production and acting?
Well, just jump in with both feet, really. You know, if people offer you things, sometimes you're putting a production on and you might be asked to do something and you maybe think, oh, I could earn more money if I do something else. But sometimes it isn't about the money. It's about the experience of doing that. And, you know, I was talking to Fraser Hines about this, and he went and did an acting job in the West End in order to be directed by this particular director. He said, it was costing me money to be there, but I wanted to do that. That's what I wanted to do. I said, how did it go? He said he hated me.
You said then you don't go to the theatre that much.
Oh, I do go, but if me and him are on a date night, we do like the cinema.
Yeah.
But we like the nachos and then the big loads of sweets and all that. We like the whole package. Yeah.
So you can make a bit of noise, a bit of
Yeah.
crunch. Have you ever had any heckles at all during performances?
Not in theatres. In clubs, which was a more loose environment, but not in a theatre. No, I tell a lie. I was heckled once. I don't really think it was heckling. I was at the City Varieties at Leeds. I don't know. It's a beautiful thing, and I was doing a thing where you come off and I did a quick change, not to go back on, and I had like a net black stocking. This is a while ago, before you say anything, leotard on. This was not recently.
She says.
I wouldn't even dream of it. Anyway, I had that on and I had forgotten to put the bra on underneath. And as I came out, it was such a quick change. And as I walked out, I I felt different. I was doing my number and giving it all. I was singing, some people can get a thrill, so flinging the arms out like Ethel Merman. I'm doing all of that. And the keyboard player was laughing. And so at the end of it, I went, what are you laughing at? And he went, your nipples out. Looked down. And then I went, I forgot the audience were there, and I went to the keyboard player, David Halford. I said, why didn't you tell me? And he went, it doesn't bother me. And somebody from the audience went, it doesn't bother me, love, either. So I don't think it was a heckle. I don't think they'd be shouting that if I did it now.
Do you go and see many pantos? I know you've got a long run.
Well, it's quite hard, isn't it? Because a lot of them are running the same time as you, aren't they? And they have their day off the same day as you. I go and see my mate Chris in his panto. And this year, that's the only one I got to see. Previously, I usually go down and see Billy Pearce and Tommy Cannon. My friends, I go and see them in pantos. But up here, as a rule, we're all working at the same time. I've been to see Ray Spencer's panto, not this year, previous years I've been. And I've seen Whitley Bay's once. But I was quite surprised. I was going to go to see a panto on Monday, but we all had Mondays off, didn't we? What's that all about?
Used to be a Sunday traditionally, didn't it?
Well, Sunday's one of our best performance days and times, 3 o'clock on a Sunday. I wish I could have a few more of them in the run. That's a great time to go out and watch a show, isn't it?
Do you get the panto blues when it's over?
No.
You don't?
No. Not for me, because it's my company. I've got to get all the gear out, the costumes out, laundered and put back away. And of course I'm starting touring on Friday, so that was coming up quickly. Time I've pulled the tree down and put the decorations in the box, it's nearly February, so get over it, Leah, get on.
And this leads me to my last question.
Ooh.
Oh. This is, as a listener to the podcast, which you're not, most people...
But I will be
you
from
will
now
be
on,
now,
yeah.
yes. We always ask one last question, which is your dream panto. So you can either be in it, you could be watching it from wherever you want. Which theatre, which production, and cast, alive or dead. It's up to you.
Well, I wanted always to have seen the panto that's been going on at the London Palladium the last 2 years. Michael Harrison's production has been, by all accounts, stunningly amazing. And I would like to have seen that. But previously, I would like to have seen the old style pantos they did there that were on for weeks when they had people like Cliff Richard in them. That's what I would like to have seen. I've seen some pictures of those type of pantos with the old-fashioned sets and no technology, just hard graft and doing it. I would love to have seen one of those. Or they had a pantomime with Cliff Richard in the Shadows. That sounds amazing to me, yeah?
So, which panto would you choose?
Which actual story?
Which actual story, yeah.
To be honest with you, I wouldn't really mind. I think they're all quite close, all the stories, really. But I think Cinderella's always magical. I like that one.
And would you want to be in it or watching it?
Watching Cliff.
Watching Cliff?
Yeah.
Who'd be your cinders?
Lovely Barbara wins, actually, because she always had that bubbly fun.
The Uglies?
Oh, I don't know. Les Dawson and Roy Barraclough.
Popular choice?
I bet it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they just come to your mind. John Inman, all those people, you know.
A Baron?
Well, I'm rather, I like watching people like Nigel Havers do those type of a little bit posh, you know. I quite like
Posh
people
old
like
Baron.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And would Cliff be Prince Charming, or would
Oh,
he be...
yes, of course.
So who would be your buttons?
David Jason.
David Jason.
Yeah.
Think we can get him out of retirement?
I think he wouldn't touch Panto with a barge pole. He hated it.
I'd love to know why he didn't like it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he did really well, and he even didn't like the bit when he got the script and it said Buttons does 5 minutes. You know, actors go, what? 5 minutes of what? You know, where's this? They want a script. But, you know, at the time when he played Buttons, and the bit where Cinderella can't go to the ball and he transforms the kitchen into the thing and the laundry skip into the carriage, he actually acted that so well that my reaction to him got me a really good write-up, and I felt such a fraud because it was actually because of him, not because of me, because he was so believable, because he approached it from an acting point of view and not a cheeky chappy point of view.
Have you spoken to him since about it?
Well, the weirdest thing is, when the Panto finished, and bear in mind, they went on forever and a day then, we were all going, what are you doing when you... Oh, I'm gonna do some cabaret, is what I said. And he said he was going into a play with Derek Nimmo, right? And my cabaret was actually at the Mandarin Hotel in Singapore. And I got there and I was walking down the street and I looked over the road and I thought, no. And it was David Jason. And the play he was in was doing the rounds of places for the expats. And he was in a play with Derek Nimmo and Julie Rogers. So I met him about 2 weeks later in Singapore, and we had a great time. So that's the only time I met him since. I've never seen him. I wonder what happened to him.
I don't know.
He was quite promising.
David who?
Exactly.
Well, Leah, thank you so much for taking part in the Panto podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. I've enjoyed it.